Hello, welcome to the Word Cafe podcast. This podcast has been designed with curated content that centers on the power of words. Can we really do anything without speaking? Can we really do anything without the agency of words? Yes, that is what this podcast is all about. And I am your host, Chukwumerije, your neighborhood word trader. I believe in the power of words, for it is the unit of creation. I trade in words to profit my world. Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good everything. How are you all doing? I'm doing great. Good to be here with you again. Oh, we're back. You know how we do it. Each time we come into this space, it's always exciting. Why? Because we have people within this space that want to share knowledge with us. Like we always say it, we come in to lean on one another's experience, and to forge a path. What are we going to be doing today? Yes, I am excited. I have this wonderful individual. I'll do a little introduction, then I bring him on, then he, yes, it's a he. You just heard it now. I let a little cat out of the bag. This person is a poet, a playwright, he's an author. He loves the space of creativity. Each time he's in that space, you just wonder, he was born to do this. He has a calm demeanor, but when you see him in that space, he's like a tiger, he's loud, he's audacious. Who is this person? Who am I talking about? This. Yes, that's the name, Dike Chukwumerije. Enough of all the banter. Let me bring him on now. Hello there.
Hello, Alakri. Thanks for having me. As you're introducing me, I was wondering whether it was me you were introducing.
Of course, it's you, guys. Let me give you a little bit of how I met him and what he has been to me. I think I was listening to a radio conversation and I heard his voice reciting, his poem, "The Wall and the Bridge." I think that's the title of that poem. And I was like, that voice sounds familiar. And at the end, he just introduced himself. My name is Dike Chukwumerije. I said, no wonder. And I must tell you, on this journey, yes, the journey of words for me, Dike has been so inspirational. His support and everything. He did the forward to my first book, and I appreciate him on all levels. Enough. Who is this Dike Chukwumerije? Let's hear him now.
Thank you, Amakri. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
My name is Dike Chukwumerije. I'm a poet. I'm a writer. That's how I like to put it. I'm a writer because I write everything. I write poetry, I write plays, I write novels, I write nonfiction, I write everything. I've always written all my life. Writing has always been a way for me to deal with issues, get through issues. So I've always used it as a coping mechanism growing up. I come from a large family. I have lots of siblings. But my father was a writer. My elder brother, the eldest in our family, is a writer and a musician. My sister is an artist. So I was surrounded by writers and creatives growing up. And I think I just absorbed it from my environment, like most children do. You know how they tell us that children don't necessarily become what you say to them; they become what they see you do all the time.
What they see you.
So I was surrounded by books. I was surrounded by people who were always talking about books, always reading, always writing. And so I cannot consciously remember a time when I said, "Oh, I'm going to become a poet," or "I'm going to become a writer." I just grew up writing and expressing myself, understanding that creativity and expressing oneself creatively was just normal.
Yeah.
I felt it was just normal. I didn't know that there were other people who didn't grow up like that.
Amazing. That statement, coping mechanism, you're about the second or third person, I'm hearing that from when I asked that question about writing or within the creative space. It's like, that's how I cope. That's how I go. I get by. That's how I, live and all that. And to me, that's really amazing. You just get your thoughts out there, construct those thoughts and what have you. Beautiful. Now, there's something you started. I think it's about, correct me if I'm wrong, it's about 5 years old plus. Am I correct? The Made in Nigeria project.
It's 6 years now.
All right, 6 years now.
6 years.
There's this thing. I know. I remember that was in Transcorp here in Abuja. Attending twice now. I think one in Transcorp, one in there's this other place in Wuse, Maitama or so.
American.
Attended. Yes. And guys, I must tell you, looking at Dike on the stage, the Made in Nigeria project, Made in Nigeria project, I'll allow him to talk about it, but let me tell you my experience sitting, watching Dike, on stage talk about Nigeria. I think that was like 100 years, the space from 1914 and all that. It's like somebody taking you through a journey of your own heritage, as it were. I was blown away. But I'll allow Dike talk about this Made in Nigeria. How did it all begin? Let us have a scoop of Made in Nigeria.
The Made in Nigeria poetry show is a spoken word theater production. That means that it's poetry integrated with theater, with dance, with drama, with music, to create a comprehensive show around poetry. And it had several inspirations. One, as a poet, beginning to perform in public, I found that there were no platforms dedicated to poetry, so that you would always be invited as a poet to perform in a musical concert or as an interlude in another event, but you didn't have sort of standalone poetry shows, So I wanted to create something that could allow poetry to showcase its own capacity to hold and entertain an audience for an extended period of time. And then secondly, I'm a Pan-Africanist. I've always believed I believe in the importance of creating strong, multi-ethnic, multicultural African states to challenge on the global level. And that's one of the main inspirations for my belief in one Nigeria and what Nigeria can and should be. But I've always believed that it's important to communicate Nigeria in an emotive way. That every time we talk about Nigeria, we talk about the country in this very dry, analytical, developmental way, like a project that we need to execute, a problem we need to solve. We hardly speak of the nation as a homeland to which we are emotionally attached and from which we emerged, a homeland that is responsible for our personalities, both the good and the bad and the ugly, but that a womb from which we emerged. And so I've always wanted to do something that communicates Nigeria in that way. So that when people listen to it, they have a heart response rather than a head response to the concept of the nation. So those were the two main inspirations for creating that show. One, to create a standalone poetry show that can hold an audience for an extended period of time. And two, to communicate the concept of the Nigerian nation in a way that was emotional, that people could have an emotional response.
Wonderful. Now, I know you've been going around the country. I think you've been to 19 states now, Correct me if I'm wrong.
I've been to 17. Wow, we're getting there.
17. Okay. Okay, I'll get in there. Yeah, so tell me, the feedback, I know on Facebook, I've seen one or two things, coming in, but from your own perspective, what has been the feedback like, the response, the reception and all that from, the 17 states so far?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, nerds. Come listen to the History Nerds United podcast, and let's make history fun again. We interview today's best authors, whether they are established Pulitzer Prize winners or someone debuting their first book. Let us show you that history is not a boring class you took in high school, but a place where the best stories come from. And we don't just cover history. We also love to chat about true crime, biographies, memoirs, and so much more. So head on over to History Nerds United, and let us introduce you to your new favorite book and learn the story behind the story.
History Nerds United.
It's been surreal, It's been everywhere we've gone with the show. We found welcome. We found a very warm welcome. We find people responding to it in the way that I hoped that people would respond to it. So sometimes people cry, they laugh, they come away telling me, look, I've never looked at this country like that before. I never felt you've inspired patriotism in me. You've inspired a love for my country in me. So this is the response we've been getting across the nation, from north to south, Christian, Muslim states. Everywhere we go, we find this response. So it's just people, like I said, it's very rare to find Nigeria being communicated in an emotional way, in a way that makes you think, what, this is actually my hometown. This is my homeland. This is the reason why I have the personality that I have. You do understand?
I do.
So the response has been amazing, and it's been uniform. And I also use it to tell people that that's why. I also use it to. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also use it to tell people that that's why you can't really say that, we're so different, we can never understand each other. And if I can go to Maiduguri and do a poem and get a response, and then go to Lagos and do the same poem and get the exact same response, and go to Minna, do the poem, get the same response, come down to Umuahia, do the same poem, it means that we share. There's something we share that allows us all to respond to the same story in the same way.
Yeah. The connect is the same, just like you're saying now, from Maiduguri to Minna to Newi to Abuja and all. The same poem or the same show or the same act, the response is, just the same. So now, from your perspective, what do you think is the issue? Why can't we just see ourselves for who we are, that we are one people?
I think the problem is the narrative. We have historical narratives that we've all been socialized into. We've been brought up with stories, and certain stories have been passed down from generation to generation, and we've never really consciously challenged those stories. So we need to challenge those narratives, those historical narratives. It's a mind thing. I always tell people that in reality, when you observe and you look at how people are interacting, you find that there is a lot of convergence. The gap between an Hausa person and an Igbo person in reality today is not as wide as it used to be 60 years ago, because people are more mixed. People are moving around more. People are, they come from one place, but they grow up somewhere else. They go to school with people from other ethnicities and religion and things like that. But that reality has not yet politics. We talk politics with a language that was developed in the 60s and the 50s. So the language of our political communication is stuck in the past. And those narratives still have a very strong hold on our mentality. So that's the problem. And that's why being able to insert new narratives into the mainstream, into popular culture, is so important. Because it's a mind thing. The stronghold is in the mind. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So you have to break into that. know.
And I mean, considering from what you just said now, we're coming from, the narrative is stuck in the past, and we're coming from like 40, 50 years, narrative. Now going forward, how do we break free from it? How do we really break free from it and see that, listen, we're one people, and it is only coming together, working together, can we indeed overcome these challenges? How do we break free?
We need to have the courage to carry forward new narratives as individuals. So there's a saying, you have to be the change you want to see. You have to be the change you want to see. So in your own personal life, you have to commit not to succumb to the old ways of thinking. Because it's almost like a temptation. If a person from the Southwest, for instance, is your boss in the office, and that person victimizes you, as a Nigerian who has grown up with certain narratives, it's very easy to say Yoruba people are like this. It's what this Yoruba person is doing to me. But that's you succumbing to
generalizing now.
You generalize it to the entire ethnic group, because that's what we're used to. That's what we've been conditioned. That's how we've been conditioned to react. So you need to make a personal commitment to not be like that. To be able to say, no, this person victimized me, not the entire ethnic group. You need to make that commitment that if two people, you are the boss, two of your subordinates are, in the mix for promotion. One of them is from your ethnic group, the other is not. The one that is not is way better than the one that is from your ethnic group. You need to be able to say, you know what? Because we've been conditioned to see everything in ethnic terms and to say, okay, there is a battle for supremacy between ethnic groups. So every time you have an opportunity, you have to push somebody from your ethnic group forward. But you need to be able to say to yourself that we can't keep behaving like this to the detriment of merit and quality. We can't keep making these suboptimal micro decisions in our own lives, and somehow we're expecting miracles in the macro society. Where is the miracle going to come from? Somebody has to begin to do the right thing in their own life. And now when you begin to do that, people will mock you. They'll tell you that, look, you are the only one behaving like this. Everybody else is behaving in the wrong way. So what you're doing is futile. But this is where faith comes in, where they say that, one with God is a majority. We have all these things, all these spiritual principles that we apply in other areas of our lives. When it comes to interacting with our nation, we throw it away. We throw it away. But it's still the same thing. That you have to have the courage of your conviction that if you see your fellow Nigerians as human beings first, in your own life, you have to begin to act that out. Now, when we do that, we then begin to, when you stand up, then other people who have your conviction but may not have your courage, when they see you walking the path, it gives them courage to then step out and begin to walk the path. So somebody has to be the first to, as they say, bail the cat. Somebody has to take the first step. When you take that step, then you begin to inspire and encourage other people to come along with you.
Exactly.
And after a while, we find that we've developed a critical mass. It's at that point that we then begin to register on the larger society. But in terms of starting, it begins with you. The change always starts with you. Me, I am a blended Nigerian. I'm Igbo from Abia, but I was born in Lagos. I was raised in Lagos. I did my university in Abuja. I live in Abuja now. So there is no way my perspective can be the same as an Igbo person that was born in Aba, grew up in Aba, did all his schooling in. We cannot have the same perception of other Nigerians. So if the person in Aba is talking in a certain way as an Igbo person, me that is an Igbo person with a different social trajectory, I should be able to be true to my own truth, where I am coming from, and say that, and not just say, oh, because that person is Igbo, I'll just key and align with everything that they say. No, I should be able to be true to my own truth and say, look, I grew up with Yorubas, I grew up with Hausas, I grew up with people from other tribes, and I know better than perhaps somebody else who didn't have the benefits of my own upbringing, that beneath it all, we are the same. And so even though the atmosphere, the dominant thinking in the mainstream does not agree with me, I have to have the courage of my conviction. I begin to fly that flag, which is what I'm doing. Just flying a flag. And slowly, people's conviction, when they see you, they're like, this person is saying something that I believe, even though I've been a bit intimidated by I've not been able to articulate it, or I didn't know if I'll sound foolish, but that person is saying it. Yeah. So let me to begin to align, So really, Amakri, I believe in organic growth. That the change begins with you. It doesn't begin with the multitude. It begins with you being true to yourself first. Then we can talk about other things.
Yeah. I listening to you now, I was having a conversation with my nephew on the danger of generalism, as in you just see that and you make this general statement. And many a times when you do that, I beg your pardon, you come to see that you miss out on so many levels. When, let's say, you sound biased, we men are like this, all men are like this. So it means you've already created this invisible barrier that you want to relate with the next person, but you now have that mindset, oh, the people from this tribe, they behave this way. Excuse me. You had an experience with an individual. That doesn't mean you should just use one blanket and just cover, everybody from that, whatever. So you need to sit down and deal with people on the merit, as in, this person hurt me, so I'll deal with the person on that basis. Not this person hurt me, so I just take the whole tribe and, deal with them. And the courage, you kept using that word, the courage. You must have that courage. And I think that is what we need as a people, the courage to change, as in, I must make this change. You're the only person in this. Sharp, yes, I agree, I'm the only person. But organically, I see this, and by faith, I see this grow. I see this, take wings, take flight. And with time, you begin to see people, ride under that flag with me. Amazing. So what is next? Where are we going next with Made in Nigeria?
We're going to Port Harcourt next. And then
the oil city.
From Port Harcourt. Yeah, the oil city, the garden city.
The garden city,
the garden city that became the oil city. And maybe one day to become both the oil and garden city, because we need the gardens
telling
back.
You, together. Yeah. That's home for me, That's home.
I know. So we're going to Port Harcourt, and then we'll go to Gombe in the northeast, and then hopefully we plan to then come to Delta before we close out the tour for the year. So hopefully we'll get that done by God's grace. It's always by God's grace. We always go out by faith. It's never, we're constantly in a state of prayer, because these things are also spiritual. It's not by might, really. It's not by how eloquent you are or whatever. You honestly, to give life to a nation, there has to be grace. I believe that the hand of God has to be on that project.
True.
And so you always have to be sensitive to that and ensuring that you're not being led by your ego. You're not being led by your ego, that you are allowing sort of the Spirit of God to lead you. And so we always go out by faith, always,
Awesome.
So that's the program for the rest of the year.
Beautiful. Now, before I let you go, I'm going to ask you two questions. The first one is this: how do you sponsor this? How do you fund it?
Well, for the majority of the trips we've taken so far, it's self-sponsored. For the majority of the trips we've taken over the years, it's self-sponsored. So obviously, the money, I make money as a spoken word artist. I give talks, So the revenue I generate from that side of the business goes into this, into these social campaigns. So I cross-subsidize, if you like. I started out by paying out of my pocket, but then as I started making income as an artist, I use that income to fund these social campaigns because they mean a lot to me. So I use my earnings as an artist to fund it. Now, but I also apply for grants. Over the years, it's been difficult to get grants and support from organizations, but from time to time, an application may be successful and we'll get funding. So for this particular tour that I'm on, this section of the tour, since January, we've been to 4 states already. We've been going to a state every month since the beginning of this year. So this particular tour, we got funding from the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Foundation to go to 6 states, one in each geopolitical zone. So that has also been really helpful to allow us to move a bit faster. Because without funding, we still go, but we just go slower. We may do 1 or 2 in a year. But with funding, we're able to do more, which is always better.
Wonderful. Now, can you tell us the demography of your team? Because I know you have this huge team. Each time I see you guys, the noise and everything. What's the demography like?
I have people, from the early 20s up to early 40s in the team. But most of them are, I guess, in their mid to early 30s. The majority of the members of the team. We have both male and female members. We have people from the north and the south in the team, Christians and Muslims in the team.
Amazing.
And then we also have different skill sets. So some are dancers, some are actors, some are organizers, some are backstage, some are tech. So we have a mix of skill set. So it's a very diverse team and very mixed. And it's something I'm also quite happy about, because the Made in Nigeria project is not just about growing or impacting positively on the audience. It's also about impacting positively on the artists that are doing the show. So we're very
Their
particular
skills.
about self-growth, capacity building for
Building.
the artist on stage.
Awesome.
Because one of the things we're also trying to address is artists, particularly in this genre, are often treated quite badly. You know, they are underpaid, they are used and then underpaid. They're not really
Underpaid.
respected. So with my own team, yes, I try and ensure that they are supported. There's an ecosystem of love and respect, and that they are paid properly. They are treated well when we go out. You're given a comfortable bed to sleep in. You travel in a comfortable. Those little things that make you know that you are of value.
Of value.
And because of that, one of the milestones or one of the achievements we have as a team is that it's very rare to see. First of all, I don't think there is any production in this country that has been going for 6 years consistently. I don't think there's any play like you can think of that has been going around the country like we are doing.
No, you're correct about that.
6 years, you will not find anything else. But then we've had the same team roughly for 6 years. There has been one or two changes where people have to, like we had somebody that he was going to do his PhD. We've had things like that, but we roughly had the same team on this journey, which is also very rare because
you've been together.
We've been together. We've been together on this journey for 6 years. So, and that's rare to find a production team that stays together like that for this extended period of time. So these are some of the other quiet things that actually give me a deep sense of satisfaction and joy beyond what's happening with the audience. But what's happening with us is also important, that we are growing and we are learning new ways of doing this thing in a way that is respectful of everybody and accommodative of everybody's desire, because the dancer also has his or her own dreams and vision for herself or himself. So for the production to accommodate your own desire to grow is important. It's something that I'm very happy about.
If I hear you, the Made in Nigerian show has created a platform for other artists to come on and hone and grow their skills. So it's not just about Dike Chukwumerije now. It is Dike providing that platform, giving opportunity to young artists to come on. They fall, they stand, they grow. Beautiful, amazing. I know I said two questions, but I need to ask you this one. Permit me. How is your family taking all of this? Your family, I mean your nuclear family, your wife, your children. How are they taking all of this?
I carried them along. In fact, I have 4 kids. The first 2 are approaching their teenage years now. So I've been telling them that soon you guys will have to start coming out with me.
Coming.
And
beautiful.
Just, come out for rehearsals, maybe come out for 1 or 2 travel. So I carry them along. I'll tell them, look, I'm going to travel to this place this weekend and all that. Family is very important to me, and being present in the home is important to me. Being there for my children. So it's not something I take lightly. And for that reason, I try as much as I try and keep traveling to a minimum. This year has been quite grueling. At least 1 weekend a month I travel. But then I do my best that the other weekends I'm home. So if I'm not traveling for a show, I'm home,
Beautiful.
And
to make up.
Because of that, I've also turned down a lot of other invitations to come do something in other states. Because I'm already traveling so much, I've turned down so many because I want to be present, So I carry them along and they're very supportive. I let them know when I'm traveling and I'm constantly in touch, calling back home, finding out what's happening, telling them what's happening on my end and all that. So
Beautiful.
It's,
I hear you.
yeah.
I hear you say, for me to conquer the world, I need to conquer my home first. So
Yeah,
you don't just
absolutely.
downplay it. Guys, we've been talking with Dike Chukwumerije. I told you, he has this quiet disposition, but when you see him in action, even James Bond cannot do what he's doing. You understand what I mean by that? Dike, thank you so much for taking out this time, to sit with us here at the Word Cafe. But before I let you go, you just have to. I don't know how you're going to do it, but you need to do it. Even if it's half a line or one piece, give us something. Give us something. Inspire us.
Okay. I've been at my desk since 6 a.m, but nobody cares. Nobody is watching. My boss won't come until much, much later. And even if he noticed, it still wouldn't matter. It does not matter who does all the work, who sits at his desk and works round the clock. For merit sits way down on the checklist. And if ever considered, it certainly lasts. First, there are those questions that top every form. Your name, your age, please, where are you from? Your marital status and what is your faith? Your village, your tribe, please, what is your state? I looked at that question and questioned myself. If I wrote down Abia, would that be the truth? Would that really describe my life's history? If I wrote down Igbo, would you understand me? That when I was born, the roads were broken. That I grew up in ruins when nothing was working. That I had to give bribes just to get what was mine. That the victims were always those who stood in line. That my tribe did not catch me when the economy crashed. That federal character was not something armed robbers observed. And when leaders went rogue, it hurt everybody, and suffering drove migrations across the whole country. That my roots are those people that kept me alive, and my roots are those places that helped me to thrive. But those people and places are scattered all over. That the one thing I know is that I was made in Nigeria.
Amazing, guys. We were made in Nigeria. Dike, thank you so much. I was just like, where is he taking us with this? And indeed, he took us to that very spot, made in Nigeria. If you are in Port Harcourt, I think it's in May, sometime in May, this May, please, Aztecs.
The 28th.
Yes,
Yeah.
Aztec Center, somewhere in Sani Abacha Road. I encourage you guys, go listen to Dike. You will not regret it. You will be inspired. You will be awakened to believe in this country again. Oh, I can go on and on, but I need to let Dike go because he has to attend to family also. Till we come your way again. You know how we say it on the show. Bye for now.
Oh, yeah, beautiful. Before we sign off, I just want to encourage you. Yeah, it's been a wonderful time. And also, I'd like to hear from you, your feedback. You've been listening to the Word Cafe podcast. I would love to hear from you, the feedback. If you have any questions, you go ahead and ask those questions. You can reach me at my email address, amakri@gmail.com. Amakri is AMACHREGARIBALDI @gmail.com. And we'll get back. You know how we do it on the show. Thank you.
Awesome time it has been with you on the Word Cafe podcast today. Thank you for being there. You can catch me up on my social media handles, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all at Amakri Isobuye. Also, you can get copies of my books, A Cocktail of Words, The Color of Words, and my HR notebook on Amazon and on Robin Heights online bookstores. You can also subscribe to my YouTube page at the same address. Yes, till we see you again.
Bye for now.